Hello and welcome to Stupid for Fantasy Football. I'm Adam. As always, I've got Jabber and JJ, and sitting with us at the big people's table today,
Claire Coffee.
stat guy Colin Wilkie.
Hey, how's it going?
Colin, welcome.
Yeah,
Welcome,
yeah.
Colin.
How are you?
It's an honor and all that.
And everybody who just tuned in and saw that Claire isn't here, we just lost half our audience. But that's okay. We understand.
Colin, next week you fill in, look prettier.
Yeah. We're a cute little San Francisco 49ers jersey.
Yeah, do
just
some
a
fucking
tight
thing.
shirt.
Anything.
Small
Tied around in a bow.
And yeah, let's see what I can do.
Let's get right into the show. I really wish we could skip the first segment because I hated this week because I had a terrible, terrible week. A really terrible week. I lost a bet to Claire that I'm not going to be happy to have to pay back. But let's get into who screwed me. All right. I'm going to start it off. I'm going to say that the fantasy football gods screwed me. Claire's team, who played my team last week, has never scored more than 115 points until this week when she scored 163. And her kicker got her 15 points. And her defense got her 29 points.
Wow.
I think even her cheerleaders got a couple of touchdowns. It was ridiculous. My team that never scored under 115 points scored 92.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was just brutal in every way. And it was one of those things like halfway through the morning games, it was already over. It was like there wasn't even fun into the night game. It wasn't even fun into the afternoon games. It was just like it's already done. I'm already cooked. It was terrible. Colin?
I actually got off my losing streak I'd been going on for a couple of weeks now and had a kick-ass game with Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Hillis, and Deshaun Jackson. Going into Monday Night Football, my opponent had no players left, and I still had one and was up 100 points. So, not complaining this week. If I have to blame someone, though, it's the Cowboys for sucking so much that Rodgers got to sit and not put more points on the board.
And now I hate Colin too.
Yeah.
For having such a good week when I had a horrible week.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable, Colin.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Well, you know, I got to tell you, I had a great week too, Adam. It's shocking, but I did. Yes, I beat the Dogettes. You don't want to know why they have that name. But I beat a team that was 7-1. But because every week, JJ,
And I believe him. He actually.
I have it right here.
I have it there.
Wow.
Now, here's the thing.
That's a good game too. 124 to 134.
Yeah, and let me tell you, I was up 134 to 86 going into Monday night's game. I was playing against Terrell Owens and Chad, the artist formerly known as Johnson. I don't call anybody Ocho Cinco. Sorry, it's not going to happen. And he scored 36 points, and Ocho Cinco got a few more, and it was just like...
He just called him Ocho Cinco.
Damn it!
He made a rule and broke it in one
Instantly.
sentence.
Same sentence. I don't call
and the
anyone
Packers'
Ocho Cinco.
defense kicked ass last week against me. But anyway, I won the game. But going forward, of course, somebody always has to screw me, JJ. So who's screwing me now? It's Michael Bush. It's probably Donald Brown this week. So I got to get a running back. But I picked up Garrard, so I'm happy.
I see Stafford got hurt. That helped you out.
Yeah, Stafford got hurt. A lot of thrills and spills
thrills.
this week. So what do you got, JJ?
I'm screwed so bad, I don't even know where to go. But you know what I'd like to say? I'd like to be positive for a moment.
Like
I'll
me.
say-
That's it. I quit. I can't. If he's going to be
me.
positive, I can't handle it.
And say, you know who didn't screw me this week? Miles Austin.
Hey!
Because I traded him.
Oh.
Now, Steve Smith from the Giants, you may not have had the greatest game ever, but I feel solid in our relationship. I feel there's a consistency there. I feel like I can count on you to be there when I need you, except now you're hurt. So
You're shaving the beard, right?
Yes.
Coming up soon?
yeah.
You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see him do everything in Who Screwed Me as Gilbert Gottfried. That would be great for JJ. Can you work on that for next week? Can you do a little Gilbert Gottfried?
Yeah, I
That'd
think
be amazing. You have the same kind of tempo and rhythm to your voice.
Yeah.
It could
I'll
work
give
for
him
you.
a try.
It could work for you.
Just nobody on my team scored
Irish
any
Gilbert
points
Gottfried.
really this week. It was just a return. Last week I was very excited. I won. I thought maybe I was rebounding. My league is so even right now. It's like I still got a playoff chance. This week reminded me that I am the Dallas Cowboys of my fantasy league.
Ouch.
You got a lot of talent, but just no direction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sucks. All right. That's enough of that bitching. Let's get into our next segment where we get to tell you about all the things we got right, and we got some big things right this week, big time. If you don't follow us on Twitter, you missed out on some great pickups. Right before great game time, we gave you a couple more ideas. We'll do that again this week. stupid the number 4 football on Twitter. And we're going to tell you what we did last week, and we told you so. Now, I'm disappointed. I talked to Corey last night. I was told there would be a World of Warcraft theme. We told you so. With the Alliance and the Horde. I don't really know what that means because I don't play it, but we didn't get it.
We didn't get it.
Yeah. I'm let down.
It's a
CSL.
I'm let down. All right,
Once
so
again, CSL.
let's kick it right off with I actually predicted on a board, on a fantasy football board, that a guy by the name of Seye Ahiro Tutu would have 100 yards and a touchdown.
Wait. Nailed it. The name, I mean.
No.
The name.
Did I nail it?
Yeah.
Huh?
The name.
The name.
We're
Now,
gonna
I
get to the player,
I actually got that wrong because he had 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. And before last week's game, he had 4 receptions in his entire career. He's a rookie. The trick is San Diego, Phillip Rivers is the kind of guy that it doesn't matter who he's throwing the ball to, he's going to make it happen. So they're decimated by all these injuries. Whoever happens to be in the starting spot is going to put up good stats. It's just the way it is. Seye Ahiro Tutu had a great game. I like him as a guy to keep around because they have a lot of injury problems there. Jackson's not going to be back. I don't think he can come back until week 12, so you're going to probably get Ahiro Tutu for one more week after this bye and be able to use him as a starter. The next guy we nailed, and this is a one-off because now that Stafford's hurt, it's going to go exactly the other way, but Nate Burleson, 113 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, great game.
Calvin Johnson got shut down, and Burleson stepped in. That's because Stafford knows how to throw to wide receivers, and Hill and Stanton really can't. Calvin Johnson's an easy wide receiver to throw to because you just throw it up and he will get it.
Yeah.
Other guys, you have to put it in the right spot. Stafford has that ability. And now it looks like he's probably going to miss probably the rest of the season, and if not, so much of it that he's going to be fantasy irrelevant for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
We'll get into more of that later. Last guy I got is Randy McMichael, again, with the Chargers. We told you guys to pick him up. We said on the show last week, if you had Gates, pick him up just in case. And we told you right before game time on Twitter, start him. 2 touchdowns. I mean, guy had a great game. And one of those catches, did you see that first touchdown catch? It was just amazing. I mean, it was literally like defender, ball went in between them and just right there. It was a beautiful throw and a great catch. And it was good to see old Randy McMichael, who used to be like a fantasy stud, like, 27 years ago?
Yeah.
Does anybody else have an I told you so?
I got a couple of I told you so's.
All right.
I told you Percy Harvin was going to be the man last week.
You did.
He had, 9 catches or 10 catches?
Yeah.
126 yards. Yeah, he had a little fumble, whatever. The guy was a monster. And I know I'm pumping up JJ's boys right here, but I also did say that Visanthe Shanko was going to be a target in the red zone. And Shanko had 4 catches for 66 and a 25-yard touchdown catch.
And apparently Claire listened to you because that's her tight end.
There you go.
I hate you too.
Amazing.
And
I heard she dropped him for Peyton Manning, but apparently maybe she got it in too late.
She picked him right back up.
Right, that's great. Right, you can pick up anything.
I'm also slightly surprised that Adam did not mention his Aaron Hernandez's 2 touchdown performance, as it is the player he, has a giant cardboard cutout.
Not only
with
that, I
sleeps in his
tweeted
bed.
right before the game. Admittedly, it was the second week in a row that I did it, but Aaron Hernandez is going to get his first touchdown. And I think the Patriots I kind of just blew that old "we told you so." But here's the deal with that. I think what happened in that horrible performance by the Patriots is they figured out, we have a guy that can do what Randy Moss used to do. That is get to the back of the end zone and get up high and get the catch. Hernandez, very much like Tony Gonzalez, very much like Gates, they all played a lot of basketball in college. They've got a lot of elite.
Yeah.
They can get up there. That's great for red zone targets. And he's 6'5". I think he's going to see a lot more touchdowns as the season goes on because who else is there to catch that kind of a touchdown pass on that team? All right. Anybody else got a we told you so, or should we move along into the fantasy news?
Let's move into the news.
I'm going to throw it over to Mark Jabber for fantasy news. I really like that lead-in.
I love it. I love
nice.
it. And I love this week's news, Adam.
Do you?
And fellas. What's your name again? JJ? Colin? Okay. Big news story this week. Wade Phillips. Wade. I actually thought, and I projected this the morning of the firing on Facebook, that the Cowboys were getting a little nostalgic about their 1-15 season, and that they figured if they went 1-15 this year, then in a couple of years, Wade Phillips would win a title. Maybe even back-to-back.
Or
But
they
it
bring back
wasn't.
Jimmy Johnson.
Or they bring back Jimmy J.
Who are they going to trade away for like 15 draft picks?
I said their best player, Miles Austin. That's who they were going to trade away. Not quite the same as Herschel Walker. No. But Wade is out. What does this mean for the rest of the team? JJ, what do you got?
You know, I don't know. I feel like it's more of the same. I just don't know. The other thing you hear is that maybe everybody's not a huge fan of their new head coach.
Well,
Jason Garrett.
yeah,
he was the second in command when this ship was sinking all throughout the year.
He was the offensive coordinator.
He's
so
not only a
what
offensive
is going to
coordinator,
change?
He's the assistant head coach of the team.
Well,
and
he's
they
already-
pride themselves on that unique model in Dallas, by the way, FYI. Okay? And it's not working. And they pay him a few $1 million a year
Yeah.
to be the assistant head
He's
coach.
got $3 million. He's making head coach
Right?
money right
Yeah.
now to be an assistant.
Yeah, making more than
Well,
a lot
not
of head
anymore.
coaches.
I know.
Colin, we interrupted you. Talk, please.
Well,
Take it.
One of those things that you got to look at is Garrett is putting on the show of being a disciplinarian coach because he knows that's what Jerry Jones is going to be looking for. So right now he's going to be trying to bust the balls of the team.
Right. Well,
So
he had the first practice with pads.
pads on.
and-
No more dominoes during lunch.
Wow.
it's like
That
they
is
put-
outrageous.
Wait, I'm sorry. The tiles or the pizza?
The tiles.
Oh, okay. I'm
Yes,
just checking.
yes.
All right.
They're a Pizza Hut organization, I'll have you know.
I just see all the
Oh, right,
Cowboys
right.
like this.
Right.
But with Jason Garrett coming as the head coach, what does this change in the offense? It has been terrible.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what? All of a sudden, they're just going to start playing better? I don't.
None of this gives them a running game.
Yeah.
And that's been the problem. And it's funny because it seems to me that they've tried all these different ways to address it, except getting a running back, except shoring up their line so that they can actually. I mean, Felix Jones isn't bad, but he's a small guy, so
Darian
he's
Barber
not.
doesn't have the push he used to have
Yeah,
anymore.
And Felix Jones is never going to run over anybody. He's
No.
got to get into open space. He's a lot like a Reggie Bush.
Yeah.
If you get a big guy on him, he's going down. But if you can get him out in space, he'll cut it through a couple tackles.
I got to go with the pundits on this one, fellas. And all week I've been hearing that it starts with Jerry Jones, and the next people down that you blame are the players. And the fact is, they're not playing for anybody. I don't think they're going to play for Jason Garrett. I wouldn't trust him as far as I can
think it's a
throw him.
motivational problem. It really
So-
is. They don't see why they should work so hard on a team that's going to suck this
They've
week.
been
Now,
told
from
they're
a-
so talented.
From a fantasy perspective, I don't think people are necessarily going to bench Miles Austin because there's a coaching change. And I think that's the key to some of our, the
But
fantasy
I do
slant
think
on this.
Miles Austin goes from being a number one must-start receiver, dropping down to that low-end 1, high-end 2, where you're thinking about matchups more.
Sure.
But that's
but
how
it-
I felt about him when Romo got hurt. Because Romo made Austin. And when you get a guy like Kitna in there or whoever, I mean, they're talking about that other guy. I think a rookie might get a start here eventually.
That'll
If
go
you're going
well.
to start
Yeah.
someone, it's got to be Des Bryant is the
Des Bryant is the guy.
Yeah.
Let me
He's
ask
the
you
most
this, guys.
consistent
Do you
receiver.
sit Des Bryant or Miles Austin or Jason Witten at this point? That's really the question we have to
Witten,
answer.
no. Witten, no.
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 Bryant, no.
No.
Miles, no. But I'd say, depending on
Depending on the
matchups,
matchup.
Be wary.
He might be a guy that.
But
I
if
trade
you're
in
in
and out.
but if you're in that person's shoes, one of our viewers out there, are you the one that's going to be? It's easy for us to say, "Oh, you should be."
You
but
do what I do,
come
and
Sunday,
you trade him for someone else.
Okay.
You trade
That's
Miles
my
Austin
question.
before his value goes
Yeah.
down. If you haven't had a trade deadline yet, find someone who's really take the gamble on the upside. Find someone more consistent.
So
And
you
if got
either start him or you
got
trade
a Cowboy
him.
fan in your league, use it, man. Say, hey, here's Miles Austin. You've wanted him.
Great.
Trade him for
Great.
someone who, like Steve
Yeah.
Smith, not maybe the best receiver ever, but like consistent, and I know what I can get out of him.
Sure.
Unfortunately,
All right.
the rest of my team doesn't score points.
Moving on to Miami, where Chad Henne is now warming the bench down in South Florida, which is exactly why Adam's not wearing his Merino jersey, because we all know that half of 13 plus a half is 7. And that's what Chad Henne wears.
That just hurt.
So Chad Pennington is now the starter. What does this mean for the Dolphins,
I got
Adam?
something to say. Hand me that football real quick. I'm going to show you something.
All right, here we go.
Now, this is why Pennington's the new starter, because they've been having trouble getting the ball deep. This is a perfect example of Chad
I feel like
Pennington's
something's gonna get
deepest
broken
throw.
right here.
Ready?
He
Are
looks
you
like a
ready?
quarterback.
That's it.
That's it. Right
The guy has no arm. It's the worst move ever. Even if Henny's struggling, it doesn't make any sense. I love that the ball bounced right back.
conveniently bounced into the hands of the
It's
number
a
one
homing
receiver on
football.
this panel.
It's a homing
that
football.
would be me.
But Pennington's not going to make a difference for them getting the ball deep. The way it affects the team, I'd say Anthony Fasano is now a little more relevant because Pennington's much better with his tight ends. Devon Bess is going to continue to perform well.
Yep.
And
I think Bess's value goes up. I think Bess sees more balls as being the slot receiver. It's good that you spent your offseason getting Brandon Marshall. Because that's really going to pay off for the guy who can throw 15 yards.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Brandon Marshall's going to do the same thing. They're going to run him underneath and hope he gets that yards after catch. I mean, he's been doing decent in receptions and yards, but he's just getting nowhere near the end zone.
Sure. Now, I'm going to pose the flip side of it. What if this is a good opportunity for the Dolphins to say, okay, you know what? Brandon's not getting that separation downfield, but he's such a big body and he's so athletic that maybe this is actually the perfect sort of timing to get a quarterback in there who doesn't necessarily throw it that far downfield, but Brandon can get the ball in that 15 to 20 yard range and then make something happen. Because maybe that's what Brandon Marshall needs to boost his confidence right now, because it's kind of down, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be all run after catch for him. There's not going to be a lot of long balls thrown, so he's going to have to shake a cornerback.
It's exactly what we said.
Marshall has that ability to do that. He can break tackles and make some of those runs. I mean, remember,
he's got a great cut move.
It's exactly what we said about a guy like Harvin, right? We said, oh, the deep threat's gone. This is where Percy Harvin excels. Similar situation, perhaps.
Perhaps
not the same receiver, but
here's who I say this is gonna benefit the most. And the reason why is the one thing one of the things that Chad Pennington does as well as anybody in the league is play action. And because of that, you're going to see the Dolphins' run game get a lot better. Henny is very bad at play action. I mean, I don't think he's ever faked anybody out ever. Pennington's brilliant at that. He can make people think he's running the ball when he's throwing it. He can make people think he's throwing the ball when he's running it. I think Ronnie Brown is going to have a lot more success. And Ronnie Brown, and I was wrong last week, Ronnie Brown actually had a pretty decent week. Wasn't great, but had a decent week last week. I think he'll start doing a lot better. I think the Dolphins will start using a lot more Wildcat formations.
I was going to say, they go back to the Wildcat. Yeah. Ronnie Brown gets you those weird throwing points.
Ronnie Brown will throw a touchdown pass by the end of the year. That's what this means. So that's the Pennington effect in Miami. What do we got next?
Next, oh boy, as if we haven't talked about this guy enough. Sir Randy Moss. Yes, he was knighted this week in Tennessee. Randy Moss, first start in Tennessee. There he is.
That hair.
God
that hair is
almighty.
amazing.
That beautiful man.
That is incredible.
It's sort of like, I can't even describe that hair. It's almost like 70s leading lady, you know, with the kind of like wavy
for a second
sort
there, I
of.
thought we were going to have a Jimmy the Greek moment.
Oh, no Jimmy the Greek moments
it's
here,
that
folks.
quick twitch hair. It's quick twitch.
What do you do with Randy Moss? Well, obviously, look, I mean, let's just cut to the chase. If you've got Randy Moss on your roster, no matter where he plays, even if it's in the CFL, you're going to play him. Yeah. Okay, so there's no argument over that. Yeah. My question is, how does it boost the value of a Vince Young or a Kerry Collins, whoever's playing? How does it boost the value of one Nate Washington, who I picked up just this week?
Yeah.
Last week, actually. How does it boost the value of some of the other players on the team? Chris Johnson. Adam, what do you think?
Well, go ahead, JJ.
I was just going to say, you're using Kenny Britt as a deep threat. That's what he's doing. Kenny Britt's running down the field. He's hurt. Randy Moss now runs down the field. I think the offensive dynamic stays the same. I don't think there's a huge change.
I think it stays the same, but I think that Kenny Britt did have that one big game. But before that, safeties and corners weren't too concerned about it. They're concerned about Randy Moss. Even though he's had a below average year, Randy Moss, every safety and corner in this league has been burned at some point or another by Randy Moss. And nobody wants to, he's kind of like the Michael Jordan of the league in that he posterizes people. He makes catches on guys that makes them look like they don't know what they're doing. So guys get concerned about that, and you get a lot of ego at that cornerback position. They don't want to get beat that way. So I do think this is going to help Nate Washington. This picture's amazing. I do think it's going to help Nate Washington. I think it's going to open it up a lot for Chris Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, Randy Moss is very good. You cannot let a safety cheat into the box.
I mean, you've
Randy
seen
Moss
it all year. They've been dropping the safety 20 yards back. I mean, some like literally 20 yards back to have double coverage on Moss, which they didn't do for Britt, even though they're using him the same way. So maybe that does. Takes one more guy out of the box, Chris Johnson.
And Chris Johnson's the kind of guy that he will many times cut around a linebacker. And the reason that he hasn't been having the kind of games he had last year is there's always been a safety spying him. They've been waiting for when he jukes a linebacker. He does it all the time. Well, now they're going to have to decide, okay, do I want to get burnt by Moss deep, or do I want to get run over by Chris Johnson? And I think it's going to open it up a lot for him. I do think, I still believe that Kerry Collins would be a better quarterback for this team. Obviously, Vince Young is the future there, so they might go that way anyway, and I get that too. But, yeah, I think this helps the run game. I think Nate Washington becomes kind of like Nate Burleson was last week, not every week. But, you know, they're going to double cover Randy Moss, and Nate Washington will see a lot.
Yeah, I think he's going to benefit from it. I think Randy Moss is going to benefit from the fact that he actually has a real NFL football coach.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, speaking of the vaunted Vikings offense, I'm going to jump ahead here for a second. Sidney Rice, possibility that he returns next week. JJ, this is your squad. These are your boys. What happens with the Vikings now with a returning Sidney Rice? Is he an immediate impact?
I'm going to be honest. I can no longer really objectively figure out what's going on with the Vikings. I'm too emotionally, I was just last week, I'm like, we're in a tailspin. We're done. We're 5 years away from having a win.
And this week you're like,
last week's game does not change that.
It doesn't change that.
As I mentioned in the pregame, 100 extra passing yards for Brett Favre does not a season make.
I'd still like to see Childress get fired.
But sure, he should have been fired last week right after they won that game. That's how you make a statement. You say, just because we won today and pulled it out against the Cardinals doesn't mean that our coach is any better.
I guess one of the worst teams in the league.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, Chicago, people have racked up points on Chicago. Their defense, which I love, equaled the number of sacks they've had all season last week.
Yeah.
They got another one?
Oh, they had 6 sacks. They had a nice performance. What's not so nice is that they had 6 sacks for the season up to that point in time. But I just realized I don't know what's going on with that team. Percy Harvin definitely still putting up numbers.
Sure.
Adrian Peterson definitely still running people over.
Absolutely.
Those are the only 2 guys that I would say are consistent starters there. I'll say this about Sidney Rice. I do think he's going to play this week. The reason is Vikings are being very hush-hush about it. But when you got a guy like Sidney Rice coming back, you want to play your cards close to the vest.
Even if he plays 10 plays, they should bring him back.
And last week, all of a sudden, Bernard Berrien, who I think most people forgot, including Vikings, forgot was still on the team.
Yeah.
Because he was not getting any looks, and when he did, he would just drop the ball. Yeah. Had a really solid game last week.
If Sidney Rice comes back, Berrien disappears. Almost. I mean, practically disappears because it's going to be, obviously going to be Sidney Rice, Harvin, and Shanko are going to be the primary guys. But I really think Sidney Rice is going to come back, and I think he's going to play most of the game because the Chicago Bears defensive coaches, when they were asked, they're like, no, we know he's coming back, and we're game planning for him. They're literally game planning in Chicago to defend Sidney Rice. He's coming back. It's just the Vikings are trying to play the old, we don't know, and he's starting.
Unless the Bears are playing the same game. Yeah. But we'll find out. Seriously, right?
Could be.
You never know. Bears could be playing the same game. Okay. What about Reggie Bush? Reggie Bush also set to almost come back. We know that the running back situation in New Orleans has been something of a train wreck this season. Overall, the New Orleans season has been something of a...
It's been a little weird.
It's been a little bit off.
It's not a wreck, but it's not looking pretty.
Colin, what do you think about the return of Reggie Bush?
Well, I mean, ever since he's been injured, they haven't had that dynamic wild card presence. I mean, he's not your traditional style running back. He's you could run the ball. You dump the pass off to him. He makes plays. He just stretches the field. And like having that safety spy on a Moss or a Johnson, they need to have someone watching out for Bush all the time. You never know exactly what he is going to do and where he is going to be on the field.
And he's a hell of a punt returner. And that's something that I think that's been affecting the Saints a lot this year. Reggie Bush has been out. They haven't been getting very good special teams work done as far as returning the ball.
Special teams have been killing so many teams this season. I mean, I think this season's been a perfect example.
Yeah.
San Diego, number 1 in offense and defense.
It's how the Raiders beat Kansas City this week with special teams.
Special teams.
And conversely, it is also helped a few teams. Like Arizona, with what's his face with the 3 names, sorry,
LaRod Stevens Howling.
Thank you, Stevens Howling. So it can definitely help. Harvin, obviously, great return man for Minnesota. So you've got, yeah, I agree. It's hurt a lot of teams. And definitely hurt the Saints.
Yeah.
In the field position game, and Sean Payton is a field position guy. I mean, they have a potent
Howard,
offense.
the Saints are in bye
but
week
no
next week, so
team-
no one's starting any Saints.
Sure.
No,
nobody's
but
starting
I'll
any.
say this. I think the reason we're talking about this most of all is, yeah, they have a bye week. Bush is coming back week 11, and what that means is that Chris Ivory and Liddell Betts are now totally irrelevant.
Right.
Yeah,
And the thing, too, is this is a key week for it's playoff crunch time. This is why we're talking about this, folks. It's playoff crunch time. It's time to dump some of those players that you've been hanging on to for a few weeks, and you have to extract yourself from. And if you've got, say, a Chris Ivory or Pierre Thomas, if you got a Pierre Thomas and you're looking at Bush coming back and you want to pick up those guys, or you're stashing Bush and you've got Ivory, it's time to let go of Liddell Betts. It's time to perhaps let go of Ivory. And this
Pierre
affects
Thomas
your
is
decisions
looking,
when the ad drops.
Yeah, Pierre Thomas is looking like he's going to be close to a week 11 return. If not week 11, it'll be week 12. And to add to what you said, this is a really good time of year to start doing things like looking at the playoff run. If you're a team that's in playoff position in your league, look at that run and start picking up defenses that are playing the Cowboys, that are playing Carolina, that are playing crappy teams.
Right.
And this is a time of year that I will actually not have a problem with somebody holding on to 2Ds if they're holding a defense that gets to play a couple of crappy teams later in the year. Or
And
even,
it's another great time of year if you're in a keeper league, as I am, and you notice a team like my team that has a couple of good older players that are not going to be keepers because of their age, but this year can help you. That's a team you can target. If you've got one young stud and you see a guy with like 3 or 4 older guys that are not keepers, but your guy is, that's a team to target in a trade.
yeah.
They're out of the playoff.
Sure.
They're looking to next year. You're looking for this year. Be willing to let go of that young stud if it's gonna get you the championship this year. I think you play for the championship this year and you don't go, well, I don't want to get rid of a guy who.
Yeah.
While we're on the subject, there's a third thing you have to look at, and that is as the playoffs are approaching, depending on the format of your league, some people have 2 weeks of playoffs, some people have 3 weeks of playoffs. You have to start looking at those mid-level players that you felt comfortable with taking, say, depending on your scoring system. But if you're, if a good week for you is like 120 to 130 points kind of thing, taking those mid-level running backs, I'll throw one out there as an example, Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis, a guy who, coming up, he's playing Pittsburgh this week. It's a short week, but you figure, okay, you'd like him to eke out 10 or 12 points. But the Patriots have some tough matchups against good run defense teams over the next, over those few weeks that your playoffs could be taking place. So you don't want to hold on to those guys, and you want to start to kind of strategize as to how you're going to put together your roster for the playoffs so that you don't think that you're going in with a solid player who all of a sudden is going to run into a roadblock and your entire season is going to fall apart because that guy can't score on a defense.
Yeah, and the Patriots are a dangerous team to have a running back on because they're the kind of team that if the run isn't establishing itself pretty early on, they just go, okay, we're throwing the rest of the game.
Well, sure.
And that's it.
Look at Aaron Hernandez's 2 touchdowns last week. 2 yards and 1 yard.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's very telling.
And, the Patriots are another team that could just all of a sudden decide to go with a completely different running back out of nowhere.
They do that all the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. I want to talk about one more team that has really emerged in the last few weeks. After week 1 against the Ravens, people weren't so sure. But, folks, this New York Jets team is alive and kicking, and they are for real, and they are solid. Now, a couple of shifting dynamics on this team. Two key parts of it. Their receiving core and their running back tandem. Tomlinson, clearly the number 1 guy for a while. Last couple of weeks, a few less carries, many less yards, only 50, 55, 60 yards. Is Tomlinson waning? Is it time for Sean Green? And, Colin and I were talking a little bit about Sean Green before the show started today.
This happened last year, too, with Jones.
Yeah.
Right.
And it happened with LT.
Right.
Yeah.
But Jones also had about 1,300 yards when he started faltering.
That's true, too.
Contrary to LT, not the same this year. LT has scored touchdowns, I believe, in only 3 games.
Yeah.
So is Sean Green the guy? I don't know. Let me start off by saying that Green hasn't really established himself. I mean, he's had some good runs, but he hasn't been overwhelmingly impressive. But is that because, Adam, he just needs enough time in the game to get his motor running, get going, wear down a defense, find his groove, and then at the end of the game, he's coming on strong and getting stronger?
I think a lot of Sean Green's struggles this year have been learning how to play in a 60-40, 50-50 situation. It's not something he's used to. LT's been used to it over the last year and a half because they've had Sproles spelling him, they had Turner spelling him before he went on to Atlanta. he's used to that kind of a thing. Green's a young guy. He wants to get in there and pound the ball and be able to get through. That said, over the last 3 games, Sean Green's yards per carry, 4.8. LT's is around 3.8. So you're going to see Sean Green get the ball more. And I think as the season goes on, it's going to be 60-40 in Sean Green's favor. So if you have Sean Green, or if somebody is, he's been sitting on somebody's bench forever, trade for him. Put him out there, see what you can get for him. If you've got Benjarvis Green-Ellis, I'd take Sean Green over Benjarvis Green-Ellis.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
And a lot of guys are looking at what Benjarvis Green-Ellis has just done recently and thinking, oh, this guy's a guy who can be. No, you're right. He's coming up against tough defenses. The Patriots are known to just abandon the run for months at a time. They've done it many, many times. They just don't run the ball. So you don't want a running back on that team. It's been great if you've used him as a fill-in, but get Sean Green, because the Jets, when they get into their end of the year run trying to make the playoffs, they're going to be defense, pound the ball, defense, pound the ball. It's great that Sanchez is opening up the passing game, but that's not that team's identity.
Well,
Their
I think
identity
the
is
other thing
running
to keep in mind too is the Jets are a team that are looking at the playoffs, and they want to keep LT fresh.
They want to keep everybody fresh,
Yeah.
and I think I think they'll have no problem doing just that.
No.
So let's transition now to another group of guys who are being kept fresh, the receiving corps. Santonio Holmes, Braylon Edwards, Jericho Cotchery. When you look at this core, obviously Cotchery has been pretty disappointing this year. Braylon Edwards has been better, but not being targeted nearly as much as Santonio Holmes is right now. Yeah. What do we see trend-wise going forward, JJ?
I think it keeps shifting more and more to Holmes. I think Holmes is clearly now the number 1 wide receiver. He was suspended for the first 4 weeks. It takes a little while to get into the rhythm. I think we're seeing Sanchez is just more comfortable with him than Edwards, and I think it's becoming very clear that he's the number 1, and Braylon Edwards is the number 2.
Yeah.
I want to bring up one more guy. Do we have time for one more?
Go for it.
Because it occurred to me we didn't, and I don't know if we discussed. Well, he's not on our injury report, but. Lee Evans. Now, Roscoe Parrish is out for the season. Steve Johnson has clearly become Ryan Fitzpatrick's go-to guy. I mean, I don't know how many times this guy is targeted, but he's pretty much catching everything that comes near him. Last week he had, 11 catches, I believe, for 1,000 yards or something. I think. And he's been scoring touchdowns. This guy's for real, and he's drawing a lot of attention. Yeah. And I think what I really wasn't paying attention to is the fact that Lee Evans has had a couple of solid games this year. Remember, against that vaunted Baltimore defense, he had 6 catches for 105 yards. This guy scored 3 touchdowns. Now, I know that game was a little bit of an anomaly in Baltimore's season, but Evans has had a couple of 4-catch, 5-catch games. Yes, he has disappeared on a few, and he's a little dinged up. But with Roscoe Parrish done for the year, I have to think that Lee Evans is back in the mix as a legitimate number 2 because Buffalo has a quarterback.
They do have a quarterback, and I clearly Steven Johnson, like you said, is the man. I mean, the man there. He's an every week must start. He literally, I'll put him just a couple of rungs behind Reggie Wayne. I mean, he's just that consistent since he got going. Lee Evans, on the other hand, he's a guy that I wouldn't drop him, and I'd keep him on my bench, and I'd play matchups. If
like this week they're going against Detroit.
Okay, if they're going against Detroit,
boom.
That's somebody that then you start him. If they're going against
at home,
if they're going against the Jets, I'd start him because what's going to happen there? They're going to put Revis on Johnson. They're going to shut down. They're going to shut down Steven Johnson just like they did to Calvin Johnson last week, and the number 2 guy is going to get the targets and the single coverage. Like Nate Burleson did. So in that situation, I'd start him. But if you
were looking at too, like with Roscoe Parrish, he was getting like about 8 or 9 targets a game, and now that's gone, and someone's got to fill it. And I think you look back to Lee Evans. He's proven in the past how good he is. He doesn't seem to be diminished in skill wise. It's just
interesting because Lee Evans is. I mean, Steven Johnson is a deep threat.
Yeah.
And Lee Evans was a deep threat. He's a little bit older now. Doesn't quite have those legs anymore. So. The question is whether or not Lee Evans can figure out how to be the possession receiver. Because if he can transfer into that role, he'll do very well.
Yeah.
But it seems to me part of the struggle is, they didn't know they had the Steven Johnson. They didn't know he was going to be this good. And now that they know they have him, now he's got to switch into a different role, going over the middle more, making the short outs, much more like a Steve Smith in New York. So.
Great. Well, Adam, that's it for the news. Back to you for the injury report.
All right, so we're gonna go into the injury report. As many of you were watching last week know, we have lost our doctor. She's not dead or anything, but she has a high ankle sprain and a concussion.
She's dead to me.
And are
And
you
we're
a
out of
doctor?
cortisone.
Would you like to be on Skype?
Oh my gosh. We should have a contest.
We should have a contest.
We should have people audition to be our doctor on air. If you'd like to be on, please write to care of Jeopardy. I don't know. Right, somewhere in Burbank.
I don't know what's happening right now.
I don't know what's happening yet.
I'm confused. All right, so getting into the injury report, obviously big news this week. Shockingly, Matthew Stafford injured again.
Damn you.
Right after this happened, I tweeted, that's it. This guy is never going to be able to stay healthy enough because it's sad. He has an amazing game. It's like, oh, he's back. Here he comes. And, oh, by the way, he's probably going to miss the rest of the season now. And it's always his shoulders. It's like he's got glass shoulders. You know, they say boxers have glass jaws. This guy's a glass shoulder.
And Sean Hill is now just healthy enough to come back and start.
Exactly.
again.
Broken
Barely.
arm has
Exactly.
healed enough.
Miraculously.
It's you know what it was? Cortisone. All right, so he's got a third-degree separation of the shoulder. He's probably going to be out for the rest of the season, and even if he does come back, it's going to be at the very end of the year. So for fantasy purposes, he's pretty much done, unless you're in a keeper league, and even in that case, I wouldn't waste a roster spot on him. Austin Cauley, he's got a concussion. He's definitely not playing this week. We got some guys to fill in for him that we'll let you know about. Mark not happy about that. So Austin Cauley not going to play this week, but it sounds like he's going to be okay. I mean, that injury looked real bad, and the next day he was walking around, so they're just waiting for doctor's clearance, and he'll be back the week after this. The Colts running backs, Mike Hart, Joseph Adai, they're both going to miss this week for sure. So Donald Brown will be the man there. We've got another guy who plays in Indy that we'll talk about in the next segment that might be an interesting pickup for you guys. Steve Smith. Now, this is interesting because he's got a chest injury. He's questionable.
My entire team.
Yeah, this is going to be it's okay, guys.
Terrible.
This is going to be one of those. You have to follow us on Twitter so you can get the last minute, whether you're starting him or not. For you Mario Manningham owners, him being injured and missing the game would be fantastic news because Manningham would be a huge start. Obviously, be great for Knicks too. I always want to say Hicks.
Yeah, against the team I'm playing.
Yeah, there you go. So everybody on your team's broken, Mark, and everybody on your opponent's team is looking great. Jonathan Stewart. This will also, this is another big one. D'Angelo Williams already out.
Trade?
Jonathan Stewart.
Steve Smith and Jonathan Stewart. The two players I got.
You know what Kim Kardashian and JJ Mays have in common? They both get screwed constantly by Miles Austin.
Outstanding.
Thank you. Thank you.
Zing.
So Jonathan Stewart has a concussion. He will not play this week. That leaves Mike Goodson as the starter in Carolina. We'll talk about him in the next segment. Chris Ivory has a separated shoulder, and they've got a bye week. And by the time he comes back, Bush will be healthy. And Chris Ivory is basically the Bush fill-in. That's the role he plays there. So you're going to see a lot less Chris Ivory. I'm not a fan of Liddell Betts going forward either, but Liddell Betts will probably be the better guy between he and Ivory because Betts is the smash mouth. He's the type of runner that Bush isn't. So you'll see mostly Betts and Bush until Thomas is back. Sorry, you've got Ivory, don't you?
I just got to.
Stafford, Ivory, Steve Smith, the whole year. It's been just a year of.
It's been brutal. There has been more injuries this year than anything. This injury report grows every week.
Man.
Gutskowski. Am I saying that right?
Gustowski.
Yeah, thank you. See, I throw up the frickin' mispronunciation thing. He's got a thigh injury.
Together in between that, you pretty much just need the running tally.
There we go.
Hey, all right.
Hey.
But I got a Hero Tutu right. He's out. He's got a thigh injury. I believe it's the rest of the season, right? I've heard he's definitely out for a while. Shane Graham is the guy to pick up. Graham is the guy now in New England, and he makes a good pickup because New England does consistently get good scoring out of their kickers. As far as a couple of guys that we know will play and will be fine, Carson Palmer, Roddy White. You're free to start him. Roddy White playing tonight. Go ahead and put him in your lineup. He's fine. Unless I'm missing something, I'm sure there's many guys that are injured that we didn't cover.
Oh, I mean, Ryan Terrain.
Oh, well, Ryan
and
Terrain is going to start. He's starting.
Terrain is starting.
Portis
Okay.
is not going to make it. It's going to be Ryan Terrain. Keelan
Great.
Williams will be backing him up.
You got him too? Because I got him.
No, I was going to try, though.
Ryan Train looks good to go this week too. I think that's
Great.
that's it for the doctor is out because we're missing a doctor. Anybody know any doctors out there?
Are you a doctor?
Are you a doctor? Do you
a
like
doctor?
football?
Do you like football? Do you like being on Skype?
Yeah. Do you like not getting paid to do anything at all? Call us.
Zach Lutzke, if you're out there, I'm writing you right now to be our doctor.
So we're going to move on to our next segment. We're going to tell you who to fill in for these injuries and how to play this news with some free agency pickup. It's time for On the Wire. Woo! Yes, it's shocking.
Weird science.
I just said it's shocking. That's
Okay.
horrible.
Wow.
All right, On the Wire, we got a couple of shots for you now. Now, just to make this clear, this is our Week 10 show. This is NFL Week 9. It's not Week 3. It's going to sound like it right now. Pick up Sean Hill because Matthew Stafford's injured.
And he used to be a Niner.
Yeah, and he used to be a Niner. Which,
Remember when the Niners were an 800 team as opposed to, what is it, 2-6?
All right. You know what? If you can't get the percentages right on both ends, Colin, then just drop it. 800, and then you tell him your record.
8 and 8.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
Sean Green is
Drop that little
available.
fig again.
500.
It's not
Okay.
well, it's not getting the name wrong, but it's close.
Sean Green is available in 68% of leagues. He's a great pickup. He came in last time Stafford was injured, which was the last time I blinked. And he was great. He was a fantastic fill-in. I used him 1 week. If you're hurting at quarterback, if you've got Rodgers on a bye, if you've got Breeze on a bye, Sean Hill's a great pickup.
And they play the Bills, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're playing the Bills, so that's going to be.
I mean,
probably gonna
not
be,
as good as playing the Cowboys, but
No.
still pretty good.
No, but it's second or maybe third behind Carolina, possibly.
I'd take the Bills over Carolina.
Yeah, I would too.
Me too. They're desperate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They ain't going to go 0-16. Not
actually
this
have
team.
not. They got
No
pride.
They're
way.
too good to
No.
go 0-16.
No, this
It's
team's
not
going to
good.
win at least 3 or 4 games. You watch down the stretch.
And wouldn't it be awesome if they beat the Detroit Lions in order to avoid going winless because the Lions are the only winless team ever? And would that be the Lions protecting the record?
Interesting.
There you go. All right.
Weren't the Buccaneers?
Wait a minute.
In a 16
Yeah.
game.
Wait a minute. Wait a
the
minute.
whole, was it the whole season? No,
Yeah,
not the
it
whole
was.
season. Was it?
Would
It was
Detroit?
14 games,
Would
right?
Detroit? Are they play? They're playing Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would Detroit pop a bottle of champagne after that
If
game?
they lost, yeah,
If
they call Nick Bonacati and be like, "Hey, where'd you get your champagne?" All right, so a couple other guys. One guy we didn't cover in the injury report, Jeremy Shockey. He might not be coming back week 11. If he doesn't, David Thomas.
Poor thing.
David Thomas makes a great tight end pickup. He's available in 96% of leagues, and he's actually pretty decent when Shockey's there, and when Shockey's not there, he gets a lot more targets. He'd be a good pickup. Going back to the running back situation in Indianapolis, Javaris James. Now, you look at his stats, it's 2 touchdowns, 4 carries, and 12 yards. Doesn't sound that great, but he is going to be their goal line back until a guy gets back.
He's that guy last week. I know you Donald Brown owners out there. I'm the same guy. Looking at the little green football field on your computer and the game center, and you're like looking at the little arrows going down. They're in the red zone. And you're like, hey, it's Donald Brown time. And then it says touchdown, 2-yard carry, James. What? What?
And you're like, what year is it? Edgerrin James? What's going on?
Ridiculous.
Close.
I get it.
Close. He's a cousin
I've been
of
there.
Is he?
I went through the same
Oh,
thing.
he's related to Edgerrin James.
He is related to Edgerrin James.
definitely got the
Twice
genes.
That happened last
Yeah.
week. My
And
sympathies are
the
with
way
you,
that
my friends.
the Colts running backs go down, he could be the only running back left.
Yeah.
He could be.
And that's the thing, remember, like you just said, Donald Brown's been banged up all year. You could look, he could be the starting running back 3 plays in.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's that easy. And
But if you're in a yardage league, as we mentioned before,
Yeah.
right before the show started, Donald Brown, solid game last
Yeah,
week, almost
solid.
100 yards, all-purpose yards. So one of those he can break it, go an extra 10 for a touchdown. It just so happened that last week, they were getting down real close, and James got those carries, could very easily flip.
Yeah.
Donald Brown could take one in from 10 yards. 15 yards out, and all of a sudden, Javaris James
very
doesn't have an
easily could.
opportunity.
But for a
And he
guy
doesn't
who's
do it.
available in 96% of leagues, he's a guy that will most likely get you probably a touchdown.
Sure.
Because they're going to get in there, they'll get in close, and they'll pound it with the bigger rookie, and that's makes for a decent pickup. The next one, Kerry Collins. Again, we're looking for quarterbacks because a lot of quarterbacks are on bye and we've got some injuries. So we're trying to find you some quarterbacks that are available in most leagues. Kerry Collins is available in 87% of leagues. Vince Young might not play, and if he doesn't, I think Collins is going to have another great game. He had a great game when he filled in. He was the one who threw the 3 touchdowns to Kenny Britt in that amazing game. And with a guy like Randy Moss, I mean, that's 2 veterans. It's 2 old veterans playing ball out in the park, and they're gonna throw it up, and they'll do great. Mm-hmm. That's if Vince Young doesn't start. If you have Vince Young, I'd pick up Kerry Collins right now. This is probably my favorite pickup of the week. Mike Goodson, running back out of Carolina. He's available in 94% of leagues. He's going to get the start this week against Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay has not been very good against the run this year. They're not horrible, but they're not great. Carolina's got a lot of problems, but look, if you're looking for a running back that's going to get opportunities, Mike Goodson's going to get opportunities.
Sure is.
Also, if you're in a return league, he's been great all year because he's a hell of a kick returner.
Yeah, and if you're looking at that Carolina game too, the guy who always kind of seems to be out there, Freeman. Mm-hmm. Last week, same thing, 18 points.
Yep, Josh Freeman. I mean, if he's any of the guys we've mentioned in the past, Josh Freeman,
on and off rosters, and he always seems to be available.
And
in
I don't get it.
Leagues.
I don't understand. Ever since I was able to pick him up, I'm just like, this is my backup.
Consistent.
He's 20 points a week, and you just know it. You just plug him in, and he's not going to score like Michael Vick, but he's not. You're not going to put him in there and lose the game because he got you 5 points.
Yeah.
Well, my favorite pickup of the week is if you don't have David Garrard, I mean, play him.
Yeah.
For some
The
reason,
Houston
everyone
Texans
thinks he's terrible.
Everyone
Well,
still thinks he's terrible.
He's got a great matchup this week.
I don't know if he's terrible anymore.
I call him terrible.
I think he's having a good, solid year. He's won them some games single-handedly. Forget the 5-touchdown game. I think he's been rock solid. He's playing against the worst pass defense in the NFL, and he has played well against them before when they weren't the worst pass defense in the NFL. If you got a bye week situation like I do, I've got Rodgers on a bye, I've got Stafford dinged up, possibly done. Pick up David Garrard. You will not regret it. He'll have a great game this week.
Yeah, I like him this week. I like anybody playing against Houston. Another guy to talk about on Houston is Joel Dressen. He's the backup tight end, although now it looks like he's going to be the starter. Daniels has had injury issues all year long. He had a really decent game last week, put up some solid stats. I expect that to continue going forward. You can't double cover a guy like that because you got Andre Johnson, you got Arian Foster coming out of the backfield. That's a team where Dressen's going to get good wide open targets. This is a guy I also really like, especially in return yardage leagues. Larod Stevens-Howling, we talked about him earlier. He's a return stud, and Beanie Wells is banged up. He may or may not play, but even if he does,
he seems to get hurt every week.
Yeah, and he gets hurt mid-game, so it kills him.
Yeah, mid-game, he always seems to come back out of the game. He goes in. I know. You know why? He's on my team.
Right.
So I think Larod Stevens-Howling might actually get. There's actually a little fly in here.
Yeah, it's kind of killing me.
I am crazy, but there's also a fly in here.
Insane.
So Howling I like going forward. He's a guy who, Arizona's so bad at this point, it might be one of those situations where they go, well, let's just put in a new guy to just see if he can give us a spark and get something going. Blair White, wide receiver in Indianapolis. This is the Austin Cooley play. Austin Cooley's out. Anthony Gonzalez is out.
Chris Cooley, Austin Collie. Rune.
Let's get that up there.
Rune.
Whatever. So Miles Cooley's out. I mean,
Tom Brody starting this.
Tom Brody's going to be thrown to Blair Black.
Very bad. Very
So
bad.
Blair White is now effectively the number 3 wide receiver in Indianapolis, which is pretty much like being the number 2. Yeah, seriously. Really bad porn name.
Yeah.
He's going to be a good, decent wide receiver 3, borderline 2. He's going to get a couple shots. I mean, Manning, when Blair White played before, Manning got him for a touchdown. He had a pretty decent game.
Got him.
So, all right.
Got the fly.
Sorry, PETA. Don't sue us.
No more interruptions. Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
He's available in 90% of leagues. Two last wide receivers. Brandon James, wide receiver in Indianapolis. Again, the reason I'm saying this is they just activated this guy at their practice squad. This is like my deepest pick ever. This guy might not ever see the field, but I have a feeling. Keep an eye on him. I'm not saying pick him up now, but keep an eye on Brandon James. He's available in every league on the planet. Nobody has him. He's a guy that could come out of nowhere.
He may not even be listed in your league.
Seriously, you might have to call your commissioner and be like, find this guy for me.
I want to make one more comment about my man David Garrard. Okay? When you talk about going forward in the playoffs, right, and these last few weeks, he's playing against 2 or 3. He's got Houston. He's got Cleveland, a bad pass defense, good rush defense. Also at the Giants, then at Tennessee, another bad pass defense. But if you're looking for him for the playoffs, you may run into trouble because he's got Oakland and Indianapolis both in the top 10 pass defenses. Another case where a guy could be great for the regular season, not so great for the playoffs, but by then you're probably starting your number 1 guy anyway. But for the next few weeks, look for David Garrard to make a splash.
So what I do with Garrard is I pull a Jim Carrey. Let me explain that.
Please.
So much like Jim Carrey did with his first wife, he wrote her into stardom, then dumped her and had somebody else for the playoff run. That's what you're going to do
there you
with
go.
Garrard. You're going to get him. He's going to get you to the playoffs, and then you're going to go, sorry, sweetheart, now that I'm in the playoffs, screw you, and I'm going to get somebody much flashier.
I love it.
There you go. He's
I love it. Jim Carrey.
Or I could just say any Hollywood movie star ever.
Pretty much.
Right.
And then one last guy, and I'm going to mention him. It's Thursday, so he's not available. Jacoby Ford. I mean, I don't know if you guys watched that Oakland
he's great.
Chiefs game. They just found a great wide receiver that had been sitting on their bench all year. I mean, the catches he made were veteran catches. He came back to the ball. He scooped it up off the turf. I mean, just incredible catches.
Well, he starts off the second half running a 94, 96 yard field or a touchdown.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah, and he's, again, obviously in return yards leagues, he's huge. But I like him even in other leagues. He's a guy I'd pick up and stash on the bench. And then real quick, defenses playing weak teams. You got Seattle's D against Arizona. I love them this week.
And I like Arizona's D against Seattle.
Well, that might
They've
be a
been
good
outstanding.
But
They've been kicking the shit out of quarterbacks and picking people off left and right.
Arizona's offense is so bad. So bad.
It's kind of.
It's getting better. It's getting better.
You could probably be.
They put up 21 last week.
Yeah, you could. You could pick up either one. I like Seattle a little bit more. Jabber likes Arizona a little bit more, but either one makes for a good play.
That could be a bet, actually.
I like
the under.
I like the Bucks. I like the Bucks against Carolina because Carolina's just got so many issues.
Yeah.
And I like the Rams against the 49ers.
And Bucks actually.
Interesting. I like the Niners.
Shocking.
Top 10 run defenses, the Niners. The bread and butter for the Rams is their running game.
Yes, true.
Okay?
And
Both are
make
still
a
a
good
top
play.
10 run defense team.
Another defense that if people got frustrated and fed up.
Oh my God.
Dropped them Minnesota last week. A lot of sacks, and now they're playing Chicago.
Yeah.
And Chicago gives up sacks.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Minnesota might make a good play this week, too. But then again, Minnesota's that defense that it's like, oh, they looked amazing last week, and then they disappeared in other games.
Actually,
just absolutely disappeared.
Another defense that may or may not be in your league. Baltimore.
They may not be in the league.
I mean, they may or may not be available.
If you were able to pick up CFL, the Toronto Argonauts
are outstanding. You look at Baltimore, which has been inconsistent this entire season. Ed Reed is back now, and that's provided a little more stability, especially in their secondary.
Won't last. Ed Reed will not last. But no, you're right, Colin.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's one of those things where
he's one of the best ever, no doubt.
Since I have seen Baltimore defense get dropped just because they weren't providing a lot of points.
Oh, terrible.
Yeah.
So now maybe you can get lucky and find them.
Yeah, they are available in some leagues. One last thing, remember, follow us on Twitter. I will give you more updates and more free agents as the week moves forward, as things change. I'll tweet those out on Sunday mornings. And I do it right before the early games and right before the later games. So follow us and we'll get you some good information. People who followed us last week knew to start McMichael, a Hero 2-2. We gave some really good suggestions last week. Let's move.
If you break down his name, it's a Hero 2-2.
It's
Heroes 2-2.
It's like a cartoon. It's like a tutu
Hero
that is
Hito.
heroic. Yeah, exactly. All right, so we're going to move into our last segment here where you guys get involved. It's time for Smash, Stash, or Trash. So I'm going to throw it up to Colin, who's not up there as he usually is. He's sitting right next to me.
I'm usually over there.
Yeah. What I love, you know what I love about this? I'm going to reach over here. I'm going to show you something. This is Colin's camera that's set up pointing over there, which is kind of funny because he's sitting right here. So this is a camera that is pointing at nothing, really.
Can we get a shot of that, Rune?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where he should
Colin
be.
used to be.
There's Rune.
There's Rune.
And hey, everybody,
Our director.
it's Rune's birthday. Rune turned 30. Happy birthday, Rune.
Happy birthday.
Oh, happy
Don't look a
birthday,
day over
Rune.
40, Rune. Happy birthday.
It's true. It's true. All right.
Or 30, but
Colin, what do we got in the old chat room?
Way to be a dick.
From Meta Militia 928 on Twitter, he asked, who should he start at flex? Miles Austin, Nate Washington, or LeGarrette Blount?
Oh,
Don't do it with Miles Austin.
Yeah, Miles.
Just don't.
I mean, I would
Yeah,
say
Miles Austin against the
It's tough.
Giants.
it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. It's LeGarrette Blount.
Well, yeah, I would say
Done
LeGarrette
and
Blount
done.
is definitely the look. LeGarrette Blount had a bad week last week, but if you look at that game, it wasn't him. It's that team who goes, "Hey, that guy who blew up for all those yards and that's not
Let's
giving the
not-
ball until the
you know,
fourth quarter."
The first half.
What are you doing?
We don't need to give him the ball.
Yeah, what are you
one of those-
doing?
It's one of those things that
On my team also.
The
Really
problem-
excited
I
last
started him
week.
last week.
Yeah, as
Killed
did
him.
I.
So did I.
Yeah.
The problem with LeGarrette Blount has been when he is on the field, you know they are running the ball because he is terrible at pass coverage.
Yeah.
He blows his assignments left and right, and Freeman takes a hit whenever they are going for a pass and they have him defending. So it's one of those things. He needs to step up his game in that regard, but he's still such a powerful runner. They need to use him a bit
It
more.
reminds me of
I think-
Ironhead Hayward. You remember Craig Hayward?
Yeah.
That's how LeBlanc. That's how Blunt. I almost called him LeBlunt, but that's how
LeBlunt.
Blunt runs. Yeah, he's just the kind of guy that he doesn't even try to avoid you unless he can jump over you. Otherwise, he just. I like
Yeah.
that.
Well,
style.
but I think just narrowing it because we're a little short on time. I would
Yeah.
say, of these three guys, I think it's pretty clear.
I'm going with Blunt.
LeGarrette Blount.
Yeah, we're going to smash Blunt.
One
Everybody
bad
agree?
game, but he's obviously a good back.
Smash Blunt. Although I will say Nate Washington is not a bad play either this
Yeah.
week.
Right,
But
he
Trade
could- he
Miles
could have-
Austin.
Could have a great
Blount.
game. If you have a hunch, you want to go
Yeah.
with Nate Washington, fine, but I think
yeah, Miles Austin
number one
is
choice
rumor
for
about
LeGarrette
Sunny.
Blount.
And Tennessee's going up against Miami, so that could.
Yeah,
right, next one.
I'd say
Next.
Blunt.
What we got next?
All right, next one we have is bye week QB Sanchez, Favre, Bradford, Fitzpatrick, McNabb, Garrard, or Troy Smith.
You know, listen, I got to get more options than that.
I need five more options.
Was that every single player quarterback that is
I think we
available?
have talked about Garrard.
Actually,
and I think
yeah.
And if you could actually tell me the astrological setup, that
You know,
would be great too.
I think on this list, considering the matchup, Garrard's a nice play. There's actually a guy on this list that I like Sean Hill. I think Sean Hill's a good pickup this week. I like Sean Hill too. I like Sean
not-
Hill.
he's not on this list.
He's not on the list. But
I know,
he-
we've
but
got
I'm adding him
19
to it.
quarterbacks on this list, and you choose
Well, let's
outside
just
of it.
look.
I think-
Let's break it down.
Let's
Look,
break it down
Troy
on each
Smith
one.
goes off immediately because he's on the Niners. Sorry, Mark.
Bradford's off 'cause he's playing the Niners.
Exactly. Bradford's off because even though I really like that kid going forward, he doesn't really put up a lot of points.
Right.
Yeah.
Sanchez, I'm going to say no because he's not going to have a big game like he had a few weeks ago. They're going to run the ball.
And they're playing the Browns
Yeah.
this weekend.
Favre is interesting because if Rice comes back, that could be a huge game. And he is getting on a roll, at least individually.
He did pass for over
Yeah.
400 yards.
McNabb I don't like because his coach is a moron. Fitzpatrick is kind of hit or miss. So I think it really breaks down to Favre or Garrard, and Garrard's got the better matchup. So you start Garrard.
Garrard's playing
Yeah.
Houston is
They're
dead
terrible.
last
They're
against
terrible.
the pass.
They're
You
terrible.
roll
The
all over
worst
them all
pass
day.
Watch, let me show you. I just threw a touchdown pass on Houston.
Yeah.
That just by rolling it off the
name
table.
one
That was
member
all
of
I
the
needed to
Houston
do.
secondary.
Exactly.
Okay, moving on.
Exactly. What else we got?
Probably could if I
Well, this was going to be a smash stash for trash, but we kind of already answered it. Jacoby Ford, which is a clear.
He's a smash.
There we go.
Yeah.
But right now, I'd
It's
stash
a bye
him
weekend.
because he's not playing this week.
Yes.
But I like
He is a surefire starter this
And we'll
week.
talk about him next week about whether or not you want to start him. He might not be a start every week, but I have a feeling. I mean, because I don't trust the Raiders. They're one of those teams that they just do boneheaded things. Their management and their coaches do boneheaded things. That kid just had a. It's exactly what Tampa Bay is doing with LeGarrette Blount. LeGarrette Blount showed, give me the ball, let me do this, and they found a way to not use him until the second half. It's just stupid.
And
Raiders
then-
did just change their mantra.
Well, yeah, they'll change their mantra when
Well, the
Al
Raiders
Davis
are
dies.
ESPN,
That's when they're going to get good.
ESPN
Yeah.
says the Raiders are America's team.
Oh God.
Moving on. Moving on.
We got
By the way, I was watching ESPN yesterday, and they started talking about a guy named Sehei Ahiro Tutu.
The Say Hey Kid.
Yeah, which was
Say Hey
almost
Kid.
a week after
the
we.
other
did.
Willie Mays.
Thanks for the update, ESPN.
That's
That's terrible. Okay.
all right.
What else we got?
Sipsills is asking Palmer or Garrard.
Gerard.
Garrard.
Gerard.
Wait, am
Yeah.
I playing him? He's in
Smash
one of my
Gerard.
leagues.
Yeah, play him.
Palmer.
Wait, no, wait. I'm gonna say Gerard unless JJ plays him. Then I'm gonna say Palmer.
Let's take a look since I'm in that league as well.
Not that we would ever intentionally
that
get
we would
bad
ever.
at life,
No.
but yes.
I got to
any
tell you,
more-
they're at Indy. Okay, Cincy is at Indy. I don't like the short week. I don't like the fact that they're on the road. Indianapolis' pass defense is deceptively good. I would not rely on him over David Garrard.
Although
this
Bob
week.
Sanders is out. Sanders is out.
He's always out.
That's true.
And if he's not out, they know that he's going to be out.
Yeah, that's true.
They're always planning on not having Bob Sanders.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Benson, Terrain, or Blunt?
Benson, Terrain, or Blunt? Blunt's really attractive because of his matchup.
Great matchup.
You got to think Tampa Bay is going to get up early and literally from the middle of third quarter on just be pounding the ball, and that's a perfect game for Blunt because they're not going to worry about.
It's a good training wheels game.
Yeah, it's just they're just gonna have him run up the middle, and he's shown that he can run through 4 or 5 guys. I mean, he's just really that tough.
My only thing is, if we're looking at Garrard's matchup being so good against a team like that, Indianapolis is, I believe, 4th from the bottom in rush defense.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody can run on these guys. Now they are playing at home, but just something to consider. Not saying that Blunt's not a great
Benson's
matchup.
been consistent.
I like Benson too.
This is a perfect dilemma to have, by the way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
But one that can completely derail your innards if you're watching and the
Well,
wrong guy is going off.
You think
at
about
the wrong
Benson
time.
and you think, okay, Benson should have a good game on Indianapolis unless Peyton Manning comes out and they get ahead by 2 scores early and the Bengals are throwing the whole
Then it
game. Then
becomes a
Benson
TO show.
Benson has 5 points and that's it. You know.
And let's face it, Carson Palmer's got a lot of confidence in T.O. right now.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
I mean, he is looking to him a lot.
Single-handedly
he's so
almost won
good.
that game.
Yeah,
I know.
he's so good you can throw the ball to the defender and he'll still end up catching it. I mean, he's just having that
T.O.
kind of
was
time.
trying to will that victory on Monday night. That was just
while
impressive.
wearing a feather.
Let's do one more and then we got to wrap this up.
Whatever. There's all kinds of shit.
What we got? We got any more?
Actually, that was the last one.
That was the last one. All right. Hey, listen, guys. Next week you should tune in because you're going to see me do something that I'm only doing because I lost a bet. You're going to see me wear a 49ers jersey, and it's going to be shameful. And I don't think
I think it was Joe Montana that once did this.
Have you seen Ace Ventura? You know the scene where he's trying to clean himself in the shower? That'll be me after next week's show.
Hey, and you know what today is? Today's Veterans Day. So,
Hey!
Hug a veteran.
a very special thank you to all the veterans out there.
Yeah.
I know we have someone watching from...
And Metal Militia.
Yep.
Thank you to you.
Thank
Who is
you.
in Japan right now?
Yes, he's in Japan and
Yeah.
one of our fans, and we love you. We're going to have your, you sent me a picture to put up for you. I had a busy week. My in-laws were in town, so I will get that up next week.
But
in
a
the
very special
meantime,
thank you to all the veterans out
Yes.
there for watching.
Absolutely.
You guys are
absolutely.
fantastic.
In the meantime, I would really urge you guys to go to youtube.com/streamingarage, streamin, no G, garage, and subscribe. That's where all of our shows are. It's where our fantasy football show is, Stupid for Dexter. We've got Stupid for Movies, a great movie review show that's currently nearing its 40th episode. And we've got Strip Down Live with Kurt Smith from Tears for Fears. Whiskey Saints were on last week. Fits and the Tantrums will be on next week. So tune in and check out the other shows.
Remember, football starts tonight,
Yes.
too.
Yes.
So get your lineups
There's a
in
game tonight.
today.
If you
Unless
have
your
a
name
Falcon,
is Dave
in 2
Serba, who
hours.
runs the
Yeah.
Beer Goggle Phenoms, who right now has like nobody starting, and possibly I could win next week on a technicality because your roster's illegal.
And that's just a couple of hours away.
So there's hope for
So
JJ.
there's hope for
There's
me.
hope for JJ, yeah.
In less than 2
Illegal
hours.
roster.
So remember the games tonight. Roddy White's good to go. And that's about it. That's going to sum it up for us. Good luck out there, guys. Remember to follow us, Stupid, the number 4 football on Twitter, and we'll get you late-breaking updates right before the games start. And also tune into the chat room here on Ustream on Sundays, because we'll be here in the chat room if you want to chat up about the games or tell us how we're wrong or how we're right. Mostly how we're right, please. We need that. Good luck, guys.
Instantly. Same sentence. I don't call
and the
anyone
Packers
Ocho Cinco.
defense kicked ass last week against me. But anyway, I won the game. But going forward, of course, somebody always has to screw me, JJ. So who's screwing me now? It's Michael Bush. It's probably Donald Brown this week. So I got to get a running back. But I picked up Garrard, so I'm happy.
I see
I'm
Stafford
looking.
got hurt. That helps you out.
Yeah, Stafford got
Yeah.
hurt. A lot of thrills and spills
thrills.
this week. So what do you got, JJ?
I'm screwed so badly, I don't even know where to go. But you know what I'd like to say? I'd like to be positive for a moment.
Like
And
me.
say,
That's it. I quit. I can't. If he's going to be positive, I can't handle it.
and say, you know who didn't screw me this week? Miles Austin.
Hey!
Because I traded him.
Oh.
Now,
Nice.
Steve Smith from the Giants, you may not have had the greatest game ever, but I feel solid in our relationship. I feel there's a consistency there. I feel like I can count on you to be there when I need you, except now you're hurt. So,
You're shaving the beard, right?
Yes.
Coming up soon?
yeah.
You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see him do everything in Who Screwed Me as Gilbert Gottfried. That would be great for JJ. Can you work on that for next week? Can you do a little Gilbert Gottfried?
Yeah, I
That'd
think
be amazing. You have,
mean, just-
you have the same kind of like tempo and rhythm to your voice.
yeah.
It could
I'll
work
give
for
him
you.
a try.
It could work for you.
Just nobody on my team scored
Irish
any
Gilbert
points
Gottfried.
really this week. It was just a return. Last week I was very excited. I won. I thought maybe I was rebounding. My league is so even right now. It's like I still got a playoff chance. This week reminded me that I am the Dallas Cowboys of my fantasy league.
Ouch.
You got a lot of talent, but just no.
Hello and welcome to Stupid for Fantasy Football. I'm Adam. As always, I've got Jabber and JJ, and sitting with us at the big people's table today,
Claire Coffee.
stat guy Colin Wilkie.
Hey, how's it going?
Colin, welcome.
Yeah,
Welcome,
yeah.
Colin.
I
how
guess
are
It's
ya?
an honor and all that.
And everybody who just tuned in and saw that Claire isn't here, we just lost half our audience. But that's okay. We understand.
Colin, next week you fill in, look prettier.
Yeah. Wear a cute little San Francisco 49ers jersey.
Okay,
Yeah, do
just
some
a
fucking
tight
thing.
shirt.
Anything.
Small
Tied around in a bow.
And yeah, let's see what I can do.
Let's get right into the show. I really wish we could skip the first segment because I hated this week because I had a terrible, terrible week. A really terrible week. I lost a bet to Claire that I'm not going to be happy to have to pay back. But let's get into who screwed me. All right. I'm going to start it off. I'm going to say that the fantasy football gods screwed me. Claire's team, who played my team last week, has never scored more than 115 points until this week when she scored 163. And her kicker got her 15 points, and her defense got her 29 points.
Wow.
I think even her cheerleaders got a couple of touchdowns. It was ridiculous. My team that never
Direction?
Yeah.
That sucks. All right, well,
All right.
that's enough of that bitching. Let's get into our next segment where we get to tell you about all the things we got right, and we got some big things right this week, big time. If you don't follow us on Twitter, you missed out on some great pickups. Right before great game time, we gave you a couple more ideas. We'll do that again this week. Stupid the number 4 football on Twitter. And we're going to tell you what we did last week, and we told you so. Now, I'm disappointed. I talked to Corey last night. I was told there would be a World of
know.
Warcraft theme. We told you so.
Unbelievable.
With the Alliance and the Horde. I don't really know what that means because I don't play it, but we didn't get it.
We didn't get it,
yeah.
I'm let down.
It's a different
CSL.
I'm let down. All right,
Once
so
again, CSL.
let's kick it right off with I actually predicted on a board, on a fantasy football board, that a guy by the name of Seye Ahiro Tutu would have 100 yards and a touchdown.
Wait. Nailed it. The name, I mean.
No.
The name.
Did I nail it?
Yeah.
Huh?
The
I did?
name.
The name.
We're
Now,
gonna
I
get to the player,
actually
the
got
stats
that wrong because he had 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. And before last week's game, he had 4 receptions in his entire career. He's a rookie. The trick is San Diego, Phillip Rivers is the kind of guy that it doesn't matter who he's throwing the ball to, he's going to make it happen. So they're decimated by all these injuries. Whoever happens to be in the starting spot is going to put up good stats. It's just the way it is. Seye Ahiro had a great game. I like him as a guy to keep around because they have a lot of injury problems there. Jackson's not going to be back. I don't think he can come back until week 12, so you're going to probably get Ahiro for one more week after this bye and be able to use him as a starter. The next guy we nailed, and this is a one-off because now that Stafford's hurt, it's going to go exactly the other way, but Nate Burleson, 113 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, great
Calvin
game.
Johnson got shut down, and Burleson stepped in. That's because Stafford knows how to throw to wide receivers, and Hill and Stanton really can't. Calvin Johnson's an easy wide receiver to throw to because you just throw it up and he will get it.
Yeah.
Other guys, you have to put it in the right spot. Stafford has that ability.
Sure.
And now it looks like he's probably going to miss probably the rest of the season, and if not so much of it that he's going to be fantasy irrelevant for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
We'll get into more of that later. Last guy I got is Randy McMichael, again,
Yep.
with the Chargers. We told you guys to pick him up. We said on the show last week, if you had Gates, pick him up just in case. And we told you right before game time on Twitter, start him. 2 touchdowns. I mean, guy had a great game. And one of those catches, did you see that first touchdown catch? It was just amazing. I mean, it was literally like defender, ball went in between them and just right there. It was a beautiful throw and a great catch. And it was good to see old Randy McMichael,
Yeah,
who
good
used
to
to be
see
like
him
a fantasy
still-
stud, like,
he
what,
used to be.
27 years ago?
Yeah.
Does anybody else have an I told you so?
I got a couple of I told you so's.
All
Folks,
right.
I told you Percy Harvin was going to be the man last week.
You did.
He had what, 9 catches or 10 catches?
Yeah.
126 yards. Yeah, he had a little fumble. Whatever. The guy was a monster. And I know I'm pumping up JJ's boys right here, but I also did say that Vincent Jacksons was going to be a target in the red
did.
zone. And Jacksons had 4 catches for 66 and a 25-yard touchdown.
Scored under 115 points. Scored 92.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was just brutal in every way. And it was one of those things like halfway through the morning games, it was already over. It was like there wasn't
Wow.
it wasn't even fun into the night game. It wasn't even fun into the afternoon games. It was just like it's already done. I'm already cooked. It was terrible. Colin?
I actually got off my losing streak I'd been going on for a couple of weeks now and had a kick-ass game with Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Hillis, and Deshaun Jackson. Going into Monday Night Football, my opponent had no players left, and I still had one and was up 100 points. So, not complaining this week. If I have to blame someone, though, it's the Cowboys for sucking so much that Rodgers got to sit and not put more points on the board.
And now I hate Colin too
Yeah.
for having
Yeah.
such a good week when I had a horrible week.
Fuzzy now.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable, Colin.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Well, I got to tell you, I had a great week too, Adam. It's shocking, but I did. Yes, I beat the Dogettes. You don't want to know why they have that name, but I beat a team that was 7-1. But because every week, JJ,
And
somebody has to
I
screw
believe
me.
him. He actually.
I have it right here.
I have it there.
Wow.
Now here's the thing. My
That's
team,
a good game too. 124 to 134.
Yeah, and let me tell you, I was up 134 to 86 going into Monday night's game. I was playing against Terrell Owens and Chad, the artist formerly known as Johnson. I don't call anybody Ocho Cinco. Sorry, it's not going to happen. And he scored 36 points, and Ocho Cinco got a few more, and it was just like,
He just called him Ocho Cinco.
damn it!
He made a rule and broke it in one.